This episode is brought to you by Target Agility. Target Agility is your reliable partner for the professional training and certifications. They aim to help professionals accelerate their career journey through the right training and certificates. They have trained more than 4,000 people on agile courses like Scrum, SAFe, and Kanban with a Google rating of 4.9 out of 5. To check out more details on the training and certification, visit their website www.targetagility.com.
When it comes to defining a product vision and roadmap, what's that secret sauce? I mean, how do you set ambitious yet achievable goals for the product?
Okay, yeah. So before I answer the product vision on the roadmap, which is a part of this product, it's called product management onion ring. So it's a big product management onion ring.
Wow.
Let's say like I'm peeling layer by layer, peeling the onion. Yeah, at the topmost layer, it's your company vision.
So I wanted to maybe understand if you want to say track product performance and measure success, what are some key metrics product managers should focus on?
Yeah, so one thing is, first of all, before we dwell into metric on a single line, it's all about like, are your users happy? That's the first thing. Are your stakeholders happy? So that can be a kind of metric, yeah, which is your stakeholder happiness, your customer happiness, also your employee happiness. So because they are the ones developers or something they are building. So that's all. These are some metrics.
Are you tired of shipping features without knowing if they will truly move the needle? If yes, then join us as we dive into the art and science of product management. In this episode, learn how to translate ideas into impact, navigate the product lifecycle like a boss, and make every sprint count. Along with this, learn how to craft compelling product vision, master prioritization, and measure success. That matters. For today's episode, we have Ravi Sandhu as our guest. Meet Ravi, a product guru and a training master. He has built everything from government platforms to healthcare tools and worn every hat in the product world. Developer, architect, Scrum Master, you name it. Now, as a professional Scrum trainer PhD, he channels his vast experience into empowering others through engaging Scrum training. Think real-world insights, hands-on exercises, and a passion for guiding you and your team to product success. Within a short span of 20 months as PhD, he has trained 1,000 participants. He also unlocks inner product geniuses as a certified proactive coach. So grab your headphones and let's dive in.
Welcome, Ravi, to the podcast by Agile Coaching Roundtable. It's a great pleasure having you on our show. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Ramya, and hello, Vivek. Yeah, nice being here. Thank you.
Okay, so today we want to have a conversation with you on product management. So typically we want to, start a conversation on product management. Till now we haven't covered this topic as much, and we know that you are a professional Scrum trainer, but your area of expertise also into more of a product management. So we thought we would start maybe having a more of such conversations on product management. So, who better than you to start this conversation with? So, treat that our audiences are very new to product management, and maybe it could be like a product management 101 kind of a thing. So, to begin with, maybe I would want to ask a very simple or maybe basic question as what is product management and how do you explain it to someone who is completely new to this field?
Okay. So product management in one line is exchange of value between the business
Wow.
and its customers. That's it in one line. But let's take an example. So everything like normally product management is all about solving problems. So either you have a problem to solve or a need to be addressed. It depends on the context. whether it's a problem or a need to be addressed. For example, if I take Netflix as a product, for some people, they're not financially strong. Like 4 people going to a movie may be so expensive. So 4 people watching a movie, probably for them, it's a need to be addressed or a problem to be solved for someone because they can't go always like far off to the movie theater and watch it. So it depends on the context. So let's take like a problem to solve or a need to be addressed. So based on that, there will be certain activities in product management where you do like market research, user interviews, user research. Then you do like a design, develop, testing, and deploy. So these are all like activities. And from these activities, it leads to an output. Output is nothing but, like in this context, it can be a web application or a mobile application. So traditional project management ends there. I'm saying traditional project management, nothing to do with Agile or anything, traditional
Correct.
project management. Okay. No offense to project management. That is a traditional project management. So product management, especially with the Agile product management, it goes beyond outputs, which is this output may lead to an outcome. So outcome is all about change in user behavior for better results. So outcome then leads to an impact as well. So impact for the organization and impact for the users. So if I tie back with a non-technical example, because it's like for a new who are new into product management, let's view a story on this. Women in India, rural India, on average, they walk 5 kilometers to fetch drinking water. Definitely, it's a problem to be solved. And
Absolutely.
activities, yeah. So what are the activities for this? So let's say charity organization, they came into the village, they dug the ground, they laid the water pipes, built the concrete, put a water tap. These are all activities which will lead to an output. And this output is nothing but a water tap with running water. Again, traditional project management ends there. But outcome now, Agile product management with outcome, change in user behavior. So whether the women are fetching the water from the water tap and they're stopping going long 5 kilometers outside the village, that's a change in user behavior for better result. That's product management. Then from there, assuming all are fetching water from the water tap within the village, the outcome is achieved. So what's the impact here? For the users, the standard of living has increased. Whereas for the organization, more money has been deposited to spread the good work in the surrounding villages. That's the impact they created as well. I hope that helps.
Wow, that's an amazing example to start with. I mean, with the start of that example, we had a big smile on our faces. I don't think anyone would be explaining in such a beautiful manner and in a simple manner. Maybe over to you, Vivek.
Yes. So since we have definitely touched on the what exactly the product management is all about, but then Ravi, if for a beginner who is one who wish to explore this path or would like to understand more about product management, uh, for beginners who might be coming from different backgrounds, right? What skills and qualities do you see, or do you expect for an individual to be successful in product management?
Okay, so before we go into that, let us understand types of products as well. There are, on a broad, like high level, 2 types of products, which is like customer facing products, customer enabling products. So customer facing products are the ones where they interact with the mobile app, the front end or web applications on the browser. These are all about customer facing. Behind the scenes, there is a lot of like customer enablement, like for example, data integration, also again, data storage systems, again, platform-based systems as well. These are all customer enabled. So it depends where the people are going into it. So if I take a weather application here as an example, like normal weather application. So you have a mobile phone, you're playing on that weather in New Delhi. That's customer facing. behind the scenes, there may be some integration is happening between various systems. That is data integration. Data might be stored in some, let's say, MongoDB or any kind of databases. Data is being fetched there, that data storage systems. So that's another product there involved. And in all the products, like, some products are security enabled. Analytics is running. These are all platform based products again. So it depends where the person is working. So in this case, in a nutshell, all these products, the commonality is you need to be curious, willingness to learn. This is so important in product management. Always, like, you need to be curious. So where to start? Depending on if you come from the technical background, like obviously we are like mostly IT type of people. Most of your listeners are from IT. So if you are there working as a developer or a quality assurance engineer, they can go anywhere into these things as long as they have like that empathy, the focus and the passion into the products. They can start anywhere and working with the people as well, like surrounding people. These all will help. So mainly, where is the break for them? Like in my experience, a lot of break happens within the company where they're working. So most of the people, I can say even 80% of the people, they transition from into product management within the company. So once that is there, always have that customer centric approach, user centric approach, and rest will follow. There is no particular formula. So have a mentor, have a coach, and work with them. Go to podcast, listen to podcasts, go to workshops, take some courses, and that will start like as a starting point. And then it's continuous learning journey. I hope that helps on that. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that's a very good perspective and way to put across how do we, what are the things that we need to maybe hone our skills on, right? So maybe now, since you're talking about the product management, and also you spoke about in the previous question about maybe different traditional product management, right? So if I have to maybe ask you if you could just walk us through the product life cycle, say from ideation to say launch and beyond. So what are the key stages, or maybe I'll not say stages, maybe key activities and challenges at each step?
Absolutely, yeah. Before I take this question, I just want to add something to the previous question as well, because I
Sure.
spoke only about developers and all these people, because product managers come from all streams. I have seen successful people coming from sales, from marketing, from HR as well. So it all, as long as like, the industry is divided, like, a product owner need not be a product owner slash product manager, whoever it is, we call them product people. So for them to be successful, you need to be like understand the customer first. But however, the technology wise, if you're working on a highly technical products which are like cloud based, DevSecOps, all these things, I strongly suggest, like, they need to come from a technical background as well. They need to understand, otherwise they will struggle. This is my experience I've seen. Yeah, that's why I want to just add to it. Now going back to the current question, so coming back to the current question, which is about the life cycle of product management. So life cycle of product management. So ideation to implementation and maintenance, or discovery to delivery and maintenance, whatever we call in this. So ideation is all about doing the market research, gathering ideas through user interviews, market research, and from there you're going to build the product. So the build can be like, because we are into agile product management, this build I am defining in sprints, which where you design, you develop, which is also part of testing, comes under development. All these things happen in sprint. These are one phase. Then after that you release and gather feedback. So this is a continuous process. So in step by step, ideation, design, develop, test, deploy, maintenance, feedback, learn, and repeat. So this is the product life cycle. So I hope that helps as well on that.
Yes, and Ravi, I mean, as you mentioned about ideation and then the following steps, maybe we'll talk more about the first step itself, ideation. How do we, I mean, maybe from a perspective that how do we understand how do we make an assumption that there is an opportunity for us over here to explore on this path, that yeah, there would be a product fit for this particular, or maybe we don't have a environment we don't know anything about, but we realize that there might be an opportunity for us to explore in terms of the ideation to launch a product or to have a product particular to a problem. Would you like to talk about that as
Yeah, so ideation, how does it happen? So ideas come from within the organization and outside the organization. Within the organization, it may be coming from your senior leadership team, maybe from your developers or engineers. And outside, maybe a user or a customer facing a problem and they want to solve that problem. So, or it might be coming from competition as well, like a competition, like someone is doing
Correct.
something and you want to copy it. But ideally, you want to be a trendsetter than a trend follower. But still, you inspire,
Absolutely.
yeah. So, for example, Zoom as a breakout rooms, they did first, and Microsoft Teams followed it. So they have to do respond it. So ideas can come from anywhere, from all directions, and from there, whether you implement those or not, it is entirely up to the context. And obviously, it's a hypothesis until it is validated. And there, you may be taking like maybe a stakeholder voting. So how you're getting a pulse, or sometimes you think strongly, you believe your intuition might be there, and you may be experimenting. But the beauty of agile product management is all about you're wasting only a sprint. It's not like a traditional project mindset where you go
Wow.
upfront planning and you realize late. So it's all about like increase value, control risk, minimize waste. So if you follow these three things, that is you're in the path to your agility.
Wow, I love the
So,
point where you mentioned that in agile way. So we are maybe, or maybe if you are doing say Scrum, we are just wasting a sprint's time, wherein I mean I'll not say in terms of wasting, but we are learning from that in a very short period instead of waiting for entire say 6 months or 1 year or whatever it could be. So maybe if you want to go to that stage, so after the ideation, obviously, this is what I'm thinking. Maybe after the ideation, we as a product team, we sit together and define a say product vision or a roadmap, right? So when it comes to defining a product vision and roadmap, what's that secret sauce? I mean, how do you set ambitious yet achievable goals for the product?
okay, yeah. So before I answer the product vision on the roadmap, which
Hmm.
is a part of this product, it's called product management onion ring. So it's a big product management onion ring.
Wow.
Let's say like I'm peeling layer by layer, onion, peeling the onion. Yeah, at the topmost layer, it's your company vision. So we wouldn't be talking much about that in this call because a company vision is normally found by founders or the co-founders. So normally, like, yeah, listen, we are not, unless we found the company, we won't be part of a company vision. So let's park that aside, company vision. The next layer is going to the business strategy. So the business strategy to achieve the company vision, what is our strategy? What problem we are trying to solve? And what are the alternatives? Who are our customer segments? How can we deliver value through what channels? So channels can be websites, iOS or Play Store. These are all the channels. And what is the cost? What is the revenue? So all these things we take into account in the business strategy. And next comes your product vision, the question where from there, so we tie back that customer segments and the problem which we are solving and our competition all together, we craft a product vision. So one example can be a elevator pitch template. It's called elevator pitch template from the book Crossing the Chasm by Jeffrey Moore. Where this elevator pitch template is all about, imagine you are going to in an elevator, you're going to fifth floor. All it takes is 10 to 12 seconds and you need to say that vision in the 10 to 12 seconds. So that's why that helps in crafting the product vision. And how do you craft this? Absolutely, being a product owner slash product manager, you go and work with people, stakeholders, and you simplify it. It will not be like elevator pitch template as well. I can give one example. While working with UK healthcare during COVID times,
Hmm.
our product vision was simply just few words to make nation health secure. That's it.
Wow.
That's it. To make nation health easy to remember, and it motivates, inspires people. Whatever decision we make, whether it's aligned to the product vision. So that's the product vision for you there. It need not be always like elevator pitch template. As long as people who receive the work and which are stakeholders and people who do the work who are the developers or Scrum team if you're using Scrum, if they have shared understanding, you have a great product vision. And from product vision, we're going now into the roadmap. You may be calling roadmap. I may be calling like a product goals, like one product goal active at a time, which is product strategy. This is product strategy. So if you think about your roadmaps, now, next, later, I'm using one roadmap template there. What are you doing now? What is next? What is later? So that shared understanding again between stakeholders and the Scrum teams here. So that is product strategy for you. Then once you have that, you go into the discovery again. This discovery where it aligns with your ideation, again, all the stuff what we discussed previously, that comes in the discovery. And you identify value. So then you deliver and validate, take the feedback. So that's where completely goes. I hope that helps as well.
Yes. Again, I have one question over here is like all these aspects of right from your ideation till discovery. Do you think that teams working or maybe getting together, coming together, they should have it identified on day one or day zero, saying that okay, we have all these things in place, and then we start spending. Or we are good to say that okay, maybe we have some idea. Let's start exploring that hypothesis.
Absolutely. It's not be linear. No need to be linear. All you need is set of ideas and then start working. There is no need like big upfront things. Yeah. So you can start straight away. Yeah.
Okay. So maybe since we are talking about now, we are slowly and slowly entering into the say product management or maybe product vision and maybe product goals per se. Obviously, now let's look at from more of a team's point of view, or maybe how do we bind things together in terms of dealing with teams and stakeholders, and maybe as product managers or product owners, whatever we call it as. If we have to talk about say product managers or maybe product owners, they wear like many hats, right? I mean multiple hats. So how do you effectively collaborate with diverse teams like say engineers or designers and marketers, and yet also communicate with the stakeholders? So how do they effectively collaborate with all these team members and yet wear so many hats and stay sane in this entire crazy product development?
Yeah, okay. Yeah, before I answer that question, I'll also, for your listeners, I will give the difference between product manager and product owner because we're
Yes,
using
please.
a lot of the things. Yeah. So, at least in this call, for me, a product manager is who is well versed with product management activities. For example, your user interviews, A/B testing, user feedback, all that stuff. A product owner is one who is well versed with product management activities, plus they know Scrum. That's it. Product owner. So that's
Wow.
our definition. Yeah. So that means there are no product management activities. Yeah, we're not going into any frameworks for what is that framework and all that. That's not the purpose of this call. So I will park that aside. Yeah. Okay. So for that, then now going to your question to your answer. I'm answering to your question now, which is the stakeholders. So stakeholders, first of all, for any product person, identifying the stakeholders is the most important thing. Identifying the stakeholders. Also, there is difference between stakeholders and key stakeholders. The difference for me is if you're using Scrum, the way I differentiate is, let's say you're having a sprint review. Whatever the room fits, let's say 15 people. So your Scrum team plus the remaining people, they're fitting, those are your key stakeholders. That's it. That number is your key stakeholders. So it depends on the context, how much the room fits. And stakeholders are all everyone who has an interest in the product, but they're outside the Scrum team. So now with that stakeholder map, it is like, four sections. Users. So you identify your users, who your users are. That's one step. Second thing is influencers, who can be your leadership team in the organization or some subject matter experts as well. These are your influencers. Then the providers. So the providers are the people who help in building your product. For example, if you take any bank as an example, So they may be outsourcing work to some consulting companies. Those consulting companies, their engagement managers, or those are your stakeholders. And you may be deploying the application on cloud, AWS or Azure. So that cloud account manager is your stakeholder. That's a provider over there. And also, you may be using some software to build your product like SAP or MuleSoft, Salesforce. So those account managers are your stakeholders. They come under providers. And now governance. You may have your internal governance, internal auditing team. So, and also external governance, like for example, like in India, if there is a bank, the Reserve Bank of India is the external governance, the rules. So these are all the stakeholders where you identify. And the reason is when tomorrow there is a problem, you as a product person, you don't need to run away and chase whom to call. You already have a thing. So to quickly, that's the advantage of having a stakeholder map. And then from there, you have like, so it depends, like, you said, like marketing, sales, or technical people, all this. So it's all about like having shared understanding. You as a product person, you may be using product backlog refinement, building those relevant people and having the shared understanding. So with communication, conversations, collaboration, coordination, all these things help you in shared understanding. And at the sprint review, you bring them so to have that experiencing the product. So what you have built, your teams have built, that increases the shared understanding. And one, because this is all for the product people, for your listeners, one thing I would always suggest or recommend is, if at all, not every organization has this. Like I work in large organizations where there is for live services, there's separate team. So we do the bill and we support for 1 month, we hand over. So the one thing which I do here is I bring them to my sprint reviews as well. So they know throughout the development they're engaged. And when it comes to the handoff, it's a smooth handover. So they know already about the product. So where my other product owners in my organization, they may take 1 to 2 months to hand over, but with me always there is 1 to 2 weeks max because they're already aligned, experienced. So that's another tip I would give to people. Yeah, I hope that helps.
Mhm. Yes, absolutely. And but uh, to the start of the question, you did, and you mentioned that maybe the product owner and the product manager. And again, let's not dive into the Scrum aspect. So I have one curious question over here is it right to say that in the context of Scrum, the product owner is an accountability, but when we are moving beyond the context of Scrum, a product manager is more of a title, a job title. Is that the right assumption, or I just wanted to validate that?
Yeah, so if you're talking in terms of Scrum, product owner is an accountability. So yes, product manager is a title. For example, in the last government organization where I was working, my title is product manager. But whenever that's for different reasons, maybe pay grade, we don't know what it is. So they have their titles. But when I'm working within the Scrum team, I'm a product owner. The key point here is whether it is a product manager or a product owner, doesn't matter. Anyone who is related to product is one person, not a committee. That's the main thing. So one product person per product. So if you look at the government organization, it's the income tax department in UK. We are 250 plus product managers, and we have those many
Wow.
products. Outsiders, it's the income tax department. But I'll tell some of the products. The last one which I did was data sharing product manager. There are 55 government departments in UK, and any government department who needs a data from income tax department, they have to work with me. So that's my thing. Before that, I also worked on pensions as a product, life insurance as a product, COVID schemes as a product, value added tax as a product, corporation tax, individual tax, sugar tax, plastic tax. See how many products are there. So for each of these products, there is a product person. So one product person per product. It's not a committee. So that's what we
Wow.
do in the UK government.
Amazing. That's so nice to maybe get our myths busted. Uh, obviously, even in Scrum, we say we have that, right? One product as one product owner.
So, I mean, whether it is Scrum or outside Scrum, this is what you mentioned. I mean, let's not talk about any framework particularly. And maybe just few minutes back, you spoke about maybe different key stakeholders and stakeholders, right? So, obviously, when as product person, if we are dealing with so many stakeholders and key stakeholders, so communication and collaboration, these are the key points, right? So how do you keep stakeholders informed and engaged throughout the product development process?
Okay. So again, because I come from a rich Scrum background as well, so all since 2011 I'm using Scrum. So I'll stick to that
Wow.
same Scrum as well. So on this case, so in my experience, a lot of product people they don't keep stakeholders engaged throughout the product development process. So what for me, an effective sprint is all about. Let's say sprint starts with sprint planning. So during the sprint planning, we craft a sprint goal. A lot of people end there. So then stakeholders directly come to the sprint review and they inspect the sprint goal. So what I do is soon after the sprint planning, I communicate that sprint goal, what this sprint is all about. I communicate with my stakeholders, key stakeholders especially. And I do get questions. Hey, you said this sprint goal. Some stakeholders might say, what about my work? Is it part of the sprint?
Yes.
I mean, so sometimes it is part of the sprint, sometimes it is coming later. So I set the expectations straight away at the start of the sprint. So when they come to the sprint review, already people who are interested, they are there. Or people who want to talk about future sprints, they may come, but they know already expectations are set. If this doesn't happen, what I've seen is a lot of arguments happen in the sprint review. Oh, I didn't expect this. I came
Yes.
all the way. I booked my tickets, hotel, all that stuff. Where is it? You should have told me. So communicating the sprint goal soon after the sprint planning is one easy step. Like quick fix, that is a quick fix. And any communication later, as a product owner and stakeholders, they can speak. So this is one thing where it saves. And at the sprint review as well, a lot of people talk about these user story points. We planned 40 story points. We did 35 or we did 45, whatever it is. That is no value at all. Story points is only effort. I don't even talk about those story points at the sprint review. I only say like this is sprint goal and they experience the product. When I say it's not a demo as well, demo means technically as per dictionary, demo means that's why we don't call a show and tell presentation or a demo because it's one-way communication. Demo as per dictionary is one-way communication, which is simply saying, here you go, weather app. So I type Delhi, this is the weather. That's all it is. That's a demo. Whereas experiencing the product, sprint review is a collaborative event. You may say, hello, stakeholders, welcome. You have the weather app. Last sprint, you have seen like 5 days of weather. This sprint review, so it's all about the air visibility. Why don't you type your favorite city and share us how the air visibility is in your favorite cities? So that's the way they play with the product they give. So this is the way to effectively run the sprint.
Yeah. And since we are talking about, or maybe we in a certain way to understand when we are working on a product, there are, you definitely mentioned that right from the ideation to the discovery, there are several different things. But also one important thing is when we are trying to validate the hypothesis, maybe saying that, okay, we completed a sprint, now let's validate it. Maybe let's launch a product, right? That can be more of a challenging or trickier situation. And on this point of time, how do you validate the success over here in case if we are moving something to production? What are the key elements or key aspects that you look into from a product point of view to determine whether we are successful, or whether what are our learnings to take away from this?
Yeah. So first of all, not every sprint needs a release.
Yeah.
So we release when it makes sense because sometimes it's no point releasing it. So we build sprint after sprint. Maybe we release after 3 sprints or 4 sprints. It depends on the context. Some people may release after 6 months, but whatever is the situation. So how to validate value? So it's all about like we focus on outcomes once again. Is the user behavior is being changed or not? For example, when we moved from paper-based notifications to digitalization. So in the past, people used to get letters, how much the tax they need to pay. First, they fill how much they earn. Then again, they get a letter, pay this much tax. It's all paper-based. So then we build the product like a digitalization. We build the product with the digitalization where it's all web-based product. So now how do we validate? Once it is launched, are people filing their tax returns online? So the first year itself, like one third of the taxpayers in UK, they file their tax returns online. So there is a change in user behavior. There is a change in user behavior that happened. So that's one way to validate value. So that's one example, behavior changed or not. That might be a huge thing. To give a smaller example than that, so sometimes you may be just validating how many people are using that feature once it goes live. So feature usage index or customer usage index. So this is another metric which you will be using. Or in simpler terms, if this it's a complex jargon for people, this you can simply go if there are something they know about how to as a product owner or a product manager, you also need to know with some analytics. So assuming that they're using some logging metrics tools like Kibana or Splunk, depending on the context, they can go and see how many users are using this feature. Another example which I have done is during COVID times, we have we supported people to stay at home. Stay at home, we will pay you. So that's one kind of scheme over there. So for this, absolutely, Rishi Sunak was the finance minister then for UK during COVID times. So he said one thing called furlough scheme. All it is like he asked companies not to fire people. So if you think you don't need them,
Wow.
just keep them on bench and they get paid 80% of the income. So, and but
Wow.
companies can't make them work. So all it is to prevent the coronavirus. So people stay at home. And now, how did I measure? So this is another one effective way. Yes, we have an API, which application programming interface. How many people are claiming money? How many companies? How much pounds? There's billions of pounds was claimed. Billions, like 60 billion pounds or something like that, over 18 months. And every week I give this is where the work with your developers as well. Uh, I share the details with my developers, the work which they have done, how much value they are creating, how much amount has been claimed. So this motivates them, inspires them to do further. So a lot of people in where I have seen is like product owners, the work is done, they wash their hands, they go somewhere else. They don't care about what results the developers have created. By having this, not only as a product owner, not only with the stakeholders, you have to focus on your developers as well. They are the ones who are building value. So with that, the alignment increases, more and value may be created. I know I went a bit more all, so that's what I go. Yeah, stop me. So I get carried away. So with all examples.
No, no, no,
Okay,
no.
go on.
So we love doing that. I mean, we love to listen to these stories and maybe listen to insights of our guests. So we at any point we don't want to stop you. So please go all guns blazing when you want to share any insight. So since I mean you touched upon the topic of same metrics, right? So I wanted to maybe understand if you want to say track product performance and measure success, what are some key metrics product managers should focus on?
Yeah, so one thing is, first of all, the before we dwell into metric on a single line, it's all about yeah, are your users happy? That's the first thing. Are your stakeholders happy? So that can be a kind of metric, yeah, which is your stakeholder happiness, your customer happiness, also your employee happiness. So because it's they are the ones developers or
Absolutely.
something they are building. So that's all. These are some metrics. Also, you may also focus on what is your new features versus bugs. Like say, for example, you've done 10 new features, and if they come back, half of them come back again, so it's no good. So you're reworking. So have an eye on that, how much innovation you're doing, how much new work you're doing compared to the bugs. And that's one thing. And let's say a bug has arisen, what it takes to fix a bug. What is how are you turning that into again value? How much time does it take? So if it is taking longer time, how can we reduce that processes and all that lead time, cycle time? So we will be measuring those things as well. Again, it goes into Agile, like it's all mixed, intermixed. So that's another thing where you'll be focusing on. And maybe also you'll be focusing on product index, like, how much time they're spending on the product and what are various versions of the product as well. Suppose when I come from strongly from API world, like, 7 to 8 years, my experience is all like in building APIs. I have experience more than like building 1,200 APIs. It's that kind of
Wow.
rich experience. So A to Z, I know about APIs. So on that, if there are so many APIs, sometimes one API is we have to maintain couple of versions. It is so much difficulty to have two versions because you change this, you need to think, test that. It takes a
Absolutely.
lot of effort. So having that unique version helps. And so we need to coordinate with our users or subscribers. Hey, please move on to the next one. Otherwise, we may retire that. You have to move that. So having that is another metric as well for you to measure. Hope that helps.
Yes, definitely. And when you spoke about, say, APIs, I could relate it completely. I mean, in beginning of my career as Scrum Master, and not as other roles I'm talking about, just as a Scrum Master, I worked extensively with the teams who were working on building APIs, and I know exactly the pain that you mentioned. That it's like, you know what, something changed. How do we maintain that versions? And because many other teams would be dependent on those APIs. So anything that we are going to change is going to spoil the entire game for them. So yes, I do understand that area of ambiguity and confusion where we have to deal with versions of API. And that as a metrics, I mean, the point that you mentioned about having the maybe measure on the APIs and the version. That's an interesting take. I mean, this is something I'm going to add next time when I work with teams that are working on the API. And yes, I mean, other metric that you mentioned about new feature versus bug, that is also something very interesting to maybe measure, because that gives us the
Measure.
idea as in, yeah,
Absolutely. The all my answers were based on this Scrum.org framework with evidence-based management. So EBM.
correct.
So I just like didn't call that name, but I used some of those things and simplified.
Yes.
So there are for your listeners, it's a free guide to download, evidence-based management guide from Scrum.org. So they can find it's clearly defined, and you don't need to use all, like whoever it is, whatever makes sense, use and evolve. That's it. Yeah, it's tough to measure all.
Yes, definitely. And you also spoke about a few minutes ago about maybe people or not worrying about till the product is deployed and beyond. There are many other things that we need to take care, and many people ignore that, right? So obviously, launch day and after launch, these could be very nerve-wracking, right? So there are two questions maybe. One is, what are some of the crucial things to keep in mind for a successful product launch? And second is, our obviously job does not end after a launch, right? So how do we gather user feedback, iterate on the product, and adapt to the changing market conditions?
Okay, yeah. So yeah, the nerve-wracking. Those were the old days. Like at least for me, like in 2006, 2007, those are nerve-wracking, I would say. The reason because it's too much planning, too much design, too many features. Like if you think this as a features, you are spraying features. It's called spray and pray approach. So that means like you spray so many things and you pray like everything should be a hit. That's the old days, yeah. So however now in the current scenario, it's about not spray and pray, it's about land and expand. So where with our sprints and all that, we land and we see, we get the pulse. If they like it, we expand. So favor land and expand or spray and pray, then it won't be nerve-wracking, hopefully. So that's a starter. Now let's go into what happens. Like, I'll tell what I have done recently. Yeah, so there is another program called coronavirus statutory sick pay. So the government has introduced like a sick pay is sick pay, but if someone is if they are sick, their employees, if any organization who got like less than 250 people, so it's a 249 people organization or less, let's say that, and if their employee is sick of COVID, they can claim for 2 weeks COVID statutory sick pay. Government pays to the organization, and the person gets that extra. So that was a scheme which I was a product owner on that. And this one, the product went live. By the way, I want to tell to your users as well. You may be thinking like a government, and all that stuff. For people like UK is like I can say definitely the one of the best government digitalization government in the entire world. In the entire world, like especially if people are from Europe or here, you try to book a train ticket or
Wow.
claim some government expense in UK compared to other countries, there is a hell lot of a difference. So UK is far advanced. And for example, the ones which I said like statutory, the previous one furlough scheme, we built that in 6 weeks. The entire where billions of pounds is
Oh,
claimed, it went to
amazing.
live in 6 weeks. It went to live in 6 weeks. So it's very agile oriented organization. Okay. So now coming back into this. So what did I do in the statutory sick pay? Because I use like I come from technical background, so I was like I coded in my life at least for 13 to 14 years. I was a Java programmer, so I know in and out of like understand code and see the logs and everything. So he, as a product owner here, I've seen like what is the claim duration. So usual on average, a claim should be made in 1 hour 15 seconds, or average time. I've seen a particular user who took more than it's exactly six, I remember the number 6 minutes 43 seconds. So that was the duration claim. I was
Nice.
panicking. What happened? Like 6 minutes 43 seconds. So obviously we have the details of the customer and we can see on the. So I had to have a conversation with the customer. What made it? Is it anything difficult, like in claiming the money? Oh, don't worry. Your form is asking a company number, and I don't have at hand, so I was searching for the company number. Then I thought, okay, it's nothing to do with the product itself. So
Software.
yeah, the reason here is like what I want to convey here is absolutely once it's launched, it's not like we sleep. We need to see the metrics, how it is going on, what is the total duration, how many people are accessing it, and we need to take feedback as well, like making calls like any improvements or how are you experiencing all this feedback. That's what we as a product people need to do.
Absolutely. And I would also like to share one more example, which one of the projects that I've worked with. Again, it was more of a job application portal. And uh, since we launched the product, we thought maybe to validate how quickly a individual candidate can apply for a job. So for us, that become one of the key metrics to evaluate, whether that person was, happy enough to start a journey while applying a job and then completing or submission of that, for that profile itself. That gave us a validation whether an individual or a candidate will be happy using this. If he's leaving it midway, then it definitely makes us feel that maybe the journey for applying for a job was a long enough queue for that individual. So it's not making any help for us in terms of the product launch. I
Yeah.
was able to exactly relate to that way.
Okay, great. Yeah, I can relate that too
Yes,
once you said it. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah,
yes,
all this is product management. Obviously, my experience is all like all my 20 plus years of experience. Whatever it takes the time before with my products the build, my experience is all about making that time reducing significantly shorter. Significantly shorter. One recent example is normally it takes to get a work permit or a visa in UK, it takes anywhere 2 to 3 months. Now I was the last product was a data sharing, like UK introduced something called scale up visa, where because of Brexit we lost a lot of talent, and now we need talented people into UK. And for that, we need to quickly validate. Now, a visa, anywhere between 3 to 5 days, you get a visa. So that's what I shared that data
Wow.
with a visa issuing department as a data sharing product manager. That was my last product. It's all about reducing things. Okay.
Moving forward, Ravi, would you like to share any misconceptions around product management that you have often seen or would have often come across?
Yeah, so some of the things, especially being as a trainer, as well, product management trainer, all this stuff, a lot of people think like, product managers are story writers. Because some people may be writing only story writing. No, it's not only about story writing. So that's a misconception. Some people think they're managers as well. because we are not managers, like we don't manage people. So we are individual contributors. So managing people is a misconception. And the other one is like
Oh
some people
God,
think is, yeah.
sorry, Ravi, to cut you. I think this point needs an amplification in itself. So, one of the mispractice or malpractices, I would say, or wrong practices in Scrum is that people treat product owners or product managers, whatever it is, as their bosses. So, it's like I'm answerable, I'm reporting to the product owner, Scrum Master is reporting to the product owner, or the developers are reporting to the product owner. And I think this is the best myth to be busted, that product owner is an individual contributor and he is not a manager to manage anyone's maybe appraisals or teams or anything like that. Thank you so much for that one.
Yeah, absolutely. No hierarchies in the Scrum team. Everyone is equal. Scrum Master manages the process and Scrum implementation. Product owner manages the product. Developers manages the implementation or the execution of the product, like the code especially. And not only Scrum, if you're not using Scrum, if you're using pure product management, product manager, the engineers or user experience people, all are like equal. There is no like reporting or anything
Hierarchy.
such that. Yeah, okay. No hierarchies, yes. Also, another misconception is gatekeeper. Some people think, oh, everything should go through me. No, nothing like that. You can collaborate. That's another thing as well. As long as there is shared understanding among the people who are doing the work and receiving the work, that's enough. Like, no need to be a gatekeeper for everything. That means you're the problem then if you're doing that. So that's a misconception as well. And some people think like it's a product manager is equal to project manager again. No, it's more than that. So every element of product management involves project management as well. Like project management is for me is like task oriented and output oriented. In product management, yes, without an output, there is no outcome. Like in my previous examples, unless you have a web app or unless a mobile app, there is no change in user behavior. Outcome only comes with an output there. Output is so important. I'm not denying
Absolutely.
that. But you focus on outcome, then everything think from backwards always. So focus on outcomes, then the value may generate. So these are various misconceptions which I can think of, but what actually a product owner, let me give that as well. So in reality, you are a customer representative, you are an experimenter, you are a visionary, you are a collaborator, you are an influencer because we lead with influence, not with authority. So that's one thing because we're individual contributors. So it's all about like have the data, metrics, what value it brings. So that's why we lead with influence. So these are some of the things.
Wow. Wow. So the last one that you mentioned about, so we sometime back talked about maybe wearing different hats, right? So I think these are the different hats. So the way we have different hats for Scrum Master, I think these are the different hats for, say, product owners. And I think this deserves a separate podcast in itself. And and if we talk about each and every hat of a product owner, as I mentioned, it will go. The list will go on and what needs to be done for each hat maybe so maybe we can have a separate discussion on
You
that
are absolutely right on that because that is a separate topic in product owner advanced course where it takes more than 1 hour for that on
oh
the
god
hats. Yeah, yeah, it's as part of the course. Yeah.
Definitely, we would have a separate discussion on that because this conversation absolutely was amazing. So, just the last question for this for today's conversation, maybe since you are a seasoned professional Scrum trainer or PSC yourself, right? What are some of most rewarding and challenging aspects of being product manager?
Yeah, so I'm tying back with Scrum trainer and product manager. So both the things together,
Yes,
I'm tying
yes,
back. So yeah, so the rewarding, taking at the rewarding points, being a professional Scrum trainer with Scrum.org, the reach is maximum. So you're known to many people. And a simple example is you approach me, probably that's one of the reasons. So probably if I'm not a Scrum.org
correct.
PST, probably you're not talking. So that's one example straight away here. In UK as well, I'm being invited to advise in product management to various organizations. So on product management techniques, to see their process as well, how they are doing, how they can do better. It's all about that's the reach which I got, which I'm enjoying on that bit, definitely, no doubt about it. And let's say, for example, for others, because not everyone is a PhD, your listener. So if you're not a
Correct.
PhD tag, what is rewarding of being a product manager for them as well? So it gives like a sense of pride, what you are, because you're a problem solver. You are working with your engineer because as a product owner, you're building the right product. Whereas with the developers, they're building the product right. So that's the relation.
Wow.
So when they're doing that, absolutely. I'll give one example. Like I was working in a logistics company, which is called DPD, which is called Apple of Logistics. They're very expensive, but the, the quality is awesome, where they can predict their delivery. They can predict their delivery. So one of the things is like 1 hour delivery window. No, even Amazon didn't copy this. It happened in 2009, 2010. That was the time this feature was
Wow.
released, where you can predict your delivery and you'll get a message on the morning, let's say by 6 a.m. or 6:30 a.m. saying your parcel will be delivered by so and so driver between 9:30 in the morning and 10:30 in the morning. Not before, not
Amazing.
after. That is in 2009. So,
Wow.
and no one yet copied that. So when you see that, and people, when you go and talk, wow, I could plan my day well, and you get that pride. So that is about like, product managers. You do something and people are using, and you're solving problems for people. So that's the satisfaction, rewarding. Now going into the other things. The other thing is yours challenges, right? The second one is reward.
Correct. Correct.
Yeah, challenges. Yeah, challenges. Like again, I'll give PST, product manager challenge. So unfortunately, or I will say fortunately as well, being a trainer, say I'm also a consultant. So though I go with a PST tag as a consultant in an organization, still I'm the product manager there. It's nothing like, oh, he's a trainer, let's listen to him. Whatever he says is right. No, I won't get that respect. I need to lead with influence still there, which is a good in a way. So that sets like to the ground level. I like that way because rather than I love challenges, people questioning back. It's not like simply doing the work. So the challenges here are absolutely you need to lead with influence where you need to bring people on board with your effective communication, not upsetting people. All these are needed. Yeah, even you may upset people, but yeah, that's a challenge, but you have to stick to the ground because remember, a product owner is also called as value maximizer. To maximize that value,
Absolutely.
yeah, you don't need to please everyone. The challenge, if you please everyone, you please none. So that's where it is. So you need to make that decision. So that's the challenge, I would say, like, yeah, be it as a trainer or not being as a trainer.
Yeah, and one of the challenges maybe I can add after maybe working with different teams and also the product owners is that if something breaks or maybe something is not working as expected or something happens, the first blame goes to the product owner saying that the requirements were not clear. It's
Requirement.
like always the product owners are in a soup saying that, oh God, the requirements are not clear because product owner did not communicate properly or we did not get that clarity in the requirement. So that is also, I feel, getting taking the blame, right, for the team, because product owner also represents team to the stakeholders, right? So maybe taking that blame is also maybe uh, a good thing, a responsibility, but I would see as a challenge because if it happens continuously, then that becomes a challenge, right? Always.
Yeah, so on that bit, like I don't like, yeah, again, once again, because working, though I'm from India, I come from India, but I've worked in UK for more than 19 years now. So I would say like, I'm like culturally I'm Indian, but professionally British. So that's what my experience is all in England. So this one, if I do a mistake or something problem, I just say, hey, sorry, it's my mistake. It's a part. Once you accept it, it's
Wow.
a part of it. It's the moment you try to defend yourself, protect yourself, and that's why a
Absolutely.
product manager, like one of the things traits, courage to accept that one. Yeah, that takes you places as well. So yeah, if you try to cover it up, it becomes more and more lies. So that's why if it's really honestly my mistake, yeah,
Absolutely.
I'll call it out. It's my mistake. I'll call it out. Yeah. So again, that's the beauty of Scrum and sprints. It's only one sprint worth is wasted. It's not like much in a traditional project management wise. Also, like again, another thing for hint, like for your listeners as well, I call this as never cheer up a happy baby. So what it means is in the sprint review, yes, you're experiencing the product and all that, the stakeholders are happy and all that. So yeah, have it and don't go and say, oh, well, I want you to show something else as well, something all that they're happy, leave them alone and go on. That might be one thing. I'm not trying to hide things here, but if you try to cheer up a happy baby, baby cries. Similarly, like, they're happy, always like leave
Wow.
it there. Yeah, okay. Yeah.
Amazing. I mean, this was such a practical tip. And I see that people get carried away because if you get a good praise, they're like, you know what, I've got so many things to show and so many things to also cover, right? And that's a very practical tip. And you also gave the other tip about sharing the goal with the stakeholders, right? I
Yeah.
mean, amazing. I mean, the conversation was so insightful, and definitely from if I have to talk from say product owner point of view, wherein the product management point of view, wherein people are still learning about the product management. I think this is masterclass in itself, and definitely 101. We have ourselves learned so many things, and we know that I mean, obviously we get the vibe when we talk to the guests and understand how much of a knowledge bank a guest has. So we understand we have just scratched this surface over here in terms of understanding things. So we would definitely want to have conversations with you on this product management space, especially maybe as a separate podcast. So for today, that was it. And thank you so much for coming over, Ravi, and doing this podcast with us.
Yeah, thank you. And final snippet as well from me, for everyone, for
Sure,
every
sure.
listener, like regardless whether you are a product owner, product manager, scrum master, delivery manager, developer, doesn't matter what your role or title is. So one thing is always wherever you work, I always suggest these people try to draw a diagram how the data flows in your organization. What is the starting point? From there, what systems it goes through, what is input output of each system, where it lands, again how it comes back to the starting point. From end to end, if you know the flow, you are well respected in every organization you work, regardless of your role. I want to mention that a lot of people don't do this, but people who do this, they are respected tremendously. And that's a value which you can add. Yeah, thank you for having me as well, Vivek and Ramya, and I wish you a happy new year.
Thank you, Ravi, for taking out time and sharing such a wonderful thought and your experience, especially the practical implementation that really adds value to the content. And thank you again, coming over and sharing your thoughts. Thank you so much, and happy New Year to you as well.
Thank you. Thank you.
Happy New Year.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you so much for watching this episode patiently till the end. We hope you enjoyed the episode. We'll meet you again in the next episode. Till then, if you like our podcast show, then do like, share, subscribe, and let us know your feedback in the comment section. You can also listen to the episodes on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music, and Audible. Thank you.